your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Well, come on along and welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Of course, coming to you from Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here on this Tuesday. What is it, September 9th already? 10th. Oh my gosh, I'm behind today. Welcome aboard. Appreciate you joining us on the show today. Chronic Hoosier makes his weekly visit. Looking forward to talking to Chronic as always. Is in course with Big Ten rival Ohio State to open up the Big Ten season, Big Ten East no less. Divisional game coming up for Indiana. Lots to get to there. We're going to hear from Michael Penix, Simon Stepanek. Who all we got? We got to talk to everybody yesterday. Donovan Hale. Can't even remember who all we talked to. Also, Indiana basketball recruiting hitting back into high gear now as the closed period, soft period, evaluation period, whatever you want to call it, over. Understand that Archie and Tom Ostrom have been jet setting around. Dawson Garcia, he has got to be priority one, I would imagine. Well, I know they are still hitting up point guards. Cam Hayes is one out of North Carolina that Mike Roberts has gone to visit. From what I've seen and read, I don't see that that's going to be much of an option for Indiana. Maybe if something falls through, he's heading towards North Carolina the way it looks. Trey Kaufman's scheduled visit to come in, but that's a 2021 kid. So I think that I've said this already that they have to land a big in this class. If you don't, you're looking at having all your bigs come in as freshmen in the 2021 class, which that's going to be your front line. Deron Davis will be gone by then. Joey Brunk will be gone by then. Justin Smith will be gone by then. Trace Jackson Davis could possibly be gone after 2 years if he goes to the NBA. And even if he's not, that leaves you with one big man surrounded by freshmen if they don't land one in this class. I think they went a little deep at the wing position, but they got what they could get. Been trying to land a point guard for 2 years without success. As they continue to try to land one to support Rob Fennessy. They're also chasing Christian Lander, of course, but that is also in the 2021 class. So lots going on. But the big news, Indiana playing Ohio State this weekend. Football. Noon on Saturday, Memorial Stadium will be sold out without doubt. And before I forget, we're giving tickets away. If you listen to me or follow me on Twitter, all you have to do is send me a direct message telling who is on today's show, just one of the guests. I don't care who. Chronic Hoosier for one. If you don't, then just follow me and follow the rules. It's that simple. I'm going to draw out on Friday. Going to announce it here on Friday. Just pretty simple 2-ticket giveaway for the Ohio State game, which you can't get anywhere else unless you go buy them from a scalper. But we've got them right here. Hope your week's off to a good start. Looking forward to talking to Chronic, as he's always a pleasant conversation. Man, did you see the NFL game? Well, there was 2 NFL games last night, but the first one, the Saints and the Texans. Holy cow. That game is over. I walked out the door to run up to do something, and because I think it was the Saints were driving for a score, I'm like, oh, they just stuck a dagger in this game. Well, I guess they ended up getting a field goal. Texans come back and score before I can get to my destination, which was like 5 minutes away. And I'm like, what? The Saints had, the Texans had the ball. They scored. It was crazy. And then, of course, the Saints get the ball back with like 30 seconds to go in the game. Drew Brees drives them down, gets them in field goal position, and their kicker nails a 52-yarder, I think. It was a career long for him. Maybe it was 53. It was 58? Oh, that's right. It was. His career long was 57. He hit a 58-yard field goal. Man, it's just amazing. They had 30 seconds in the game. They had the Texans had the lead in 30 seconds and couldn't stop them from scoring. That's an exciting finish. I didn't make it up to see the end of the Raiders game. Been so long ago, I forget who they were even playing. Oh yeah, if I had to guess, I'd go with Oakland, but I don't know.
Oakland won 24-16.
There you go. How about your boy, Mr. Gruden? Text into the show from Tim. Odell Beckham Jr. plays his first game as a Cleveland Brown wearing a $350,000 watch by Richard Mille. Is that the designer? Didn't help the Browns win, did it? Nope. Trace Jackson Davis picked as the 24th best Big Ten player by Inside the Hall. That's that's an Indiana publication, so thanks, Tim, for texting into the show. Make sure you hit us up on the text line if you'd like, 812-269-6367. Get your questions in. It doesn't matter when. I know everybody is not able to listen live, so you can send those questions whenever. If you have a comment question for a guest, an upcoming guest, and more importantly, don't forget, courtesy of Jeremy Temple Law Office, we're giving those tickets away. Jeremy Temple Law Office of Bloomington, right on Kirkwood. What a great location on the square down there, Fountain Square. Amazing. 101 West Kirkwood Avenue. Jeremy Temple Law Office can handle your needs. He's helping allowing us to give away 2 tickets to the Ohio State game. That's it. No strings attached. How about that? Good luck finding tickets to this game if you don't already have them. But looking forward to this game, man. I'm trying to contain it. This is a game that Indiana can win. We've had this discussion so much here lately. But can they really win it? I'm not sure if they are. We don't know what the defensive line is really like. They're young and experienced to know that. But statistically, they're doing a good job thus far. Now, granted, the competition has not been stellar, but you just never know. We're going to have to wait and find out. I think the offense, without doubt, is no problem. We'll have no problem scoring. The over and under is 61. I think that's low, personally, between these two teams. I think these two teams could be gunslinging it on Saturday. I mean, this could be a shootout. There's no doubt Ohio State has a very good offense. They've shown it this season already. And there's no doubt that Indiana has a prolific offense. We haven't seen it as much because their quarterback got taken out before the half last week. Michael Penix certainly off to a good start. We're going to hear from Michael Penix today, along with several others, as we were able to meet with those guys yesterday. You can tell Michael Penix is just becoming more and more of a leader. You can tell his answers, his diplomacy. But I liked Donovan Hale. I'm going to talk to him about this Ohio State game. I mean, a lot of the coaches, a lot of the players, they want to downplay the significance of playing an Ohio State, and let's just cut to the chase. It's a significant game for multiple reasons. We're here from Tom Allen as well, specifically about a question I asked him about that. What would a win do over a team like Ohio State? What would that do for this program? We'll hear what he has to say as well. But you're playing a team you haven't beaten since 1988. Do you know who the president was then?
In 88?
Yes.
Yeah. Ronald Reagan, right?
I believe so. Was he still in there?
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
That would have been on the backside.
Yeah, it was either him or Bush Sr.
Yeah. But it's that long ago. The kids that are on this football team were not alive. None of them were living. And, man, Bill Mallory was at the helm of the Hoosiers then. He was giving Ohio State fits. There was a 5-year period where Indiana beats Ohio State twice. There's a tie and 2 losses by 4 points. That's a 5-year period. That's not a fluke. It's not a one season. Bill Mallory had it going. Then Indiana fired him. And look where they've been ever since. Toiling, I tell you. Well, hopefully Tom Allen's got it going. He's got the recruiting going for sure. But a win over an Ohio State, that would be big. That would be big. I remember sitting in the stands as a fan for the Michigan game. They beat Michigan. I believe that was also in 80. Is that 87 or 80? I'm trying to remember. They beat both of them in the same season. It was just fun. Now, they should have beaten Michigan numerous times since the hell. They should have beaten Michigan numerous times in the last couple of years. The last 2 trips to Memorial Stadium, both gone to overtime. They should have won both of them easily. Easily. Remember those painful endings as well. Hopefully it's a different deal this year. Michigan also comes to Memorial Stadium later in the season. But the task at hand is the Ohio State Buckeyes. And it is a tall task. Don't get me wrong. They're looking pretty good. We'll talk about that, but we're also going to talk about some IU basketball today as Indiana is hot on the trail of Dawson Garcia, and they need to land a big man. They just need – I know that they need a backup point guard, but they've got to get a big man in there or they're not going to have one in 2 years. They're certainly scouring the recruiting trail. We'll see what they come up with. On the program today, though, Chronic Hoosier, looking forward to hearing from him. And if you missed Don Fisher, you're going to get the opportunity to hear that again as well. Lots of IU football is coming up here on the Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We'll be back with more from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
If I can for sure, all the good love when we're all alone. Keep it up, girl. Yeah, you turn me on.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is former Hoosier basketball player Nick Zeisloff. Keep up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Jim Coyle with you as always, coming to you from the golf club at here at Eagle Point Studios, and now joined by one of our favorites each week, the great voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fisher. Don, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Jim. How about yourself?
Good. Enjoyed a great weekend and some good Indiana football, and one in which you probably got to use every name on the roster.
Well, close. Literally, I don't know that we've ever had 74 players play in a football game at Indiana, but we had at least 74 in this contest. It was unbelievable how many players did get an opportunity to perform. Tom Allen, of course, calling off the Dogs near halftime because Indiana was already dominating the football game. It was just a really nice performance by this Indiana football team, picking up a much different type of performance than they had the week before against Ball State up at Lucas Oil Stadium. Eastern Illinois, let's face facts here, Jim, before we go any further. Not a very talented football team, one that's under a new coach who's trying to establish his team, played a lot of freshmen on their roster, and they struggle certainly at the level of which Indiana plays in the Big Ten. They play out of the Ohio Valley Conference, so they're not a league that's comparable in any way, shape, or form, and the talent level is not nearly as good. So for Indiana to beat them like they did, that should have been expected, and I think it was, and Indiana did exactly what it was expected to do. So that's the good news, without question. The bad news is now they step out of the frying pan and into the fire next week because they take on Ohio State. But nevertheless, you enjoy this one while you can.
Absolutely. I don't know that I've ever seen a quarterback pulled before halftime before, and we saw that the other day.
Well, no doubt. Michael Penix literally was pulled before halftime. Peyton Ramsey came in and ran the last series offensively for Indiana in the first half, and of course immediately scored a touchdown as he dumped the pass off to Randy or to
Ronnie
Walker kid, and Ronnie Walker came up with a terrific 64-yard run down the sideline that made the score 35-0 at halftime. So Peyton came in, did a really nice job while he was in there. As everybody knows, he of course was a starter for a couple of years prior to Michael Penix taking over this season. But Peyton was 13 of 14 and for 226 yards and 2 touchdowns. His statistics were much better than Michael Penix's because Penix was 14 of 20 for 197. That said, Indiana played terrific football on Saturday, at least from a passing attack standpoint. And I guess I've been sounding this alarm for a couple of weeks now, and I'm continuing to do so because it still, I think, is a big concern for this Indiana football team, and that's the running attack. It has not lived up to expectations at this point in the season. Saturday against Eastern Illinois, they ran 34 times. They only gained 114 yards out of those 34 attempts. Stevie Scott had 61 yards in 12 tries. Samson James came in the ball game and had 27 yards out of his 12 attempts. But nobody else that ran the football ran it effectively other than the quarterbacks, and they only ran a couple of times each. So I'm not quite sure what to make of our running game right now, or of Indiana's running game at this point. They have not done a good job of, I think, run blocking at this juncture. I think that's been the biggest issue. This offensive line, I think, is still much a question mark when it comes to run blocking. Buck said after watching the film of the Ball State game that Indiana did a tremendous job of pass blocking, but the run blocking just wasn't up to speed, and we didn't see that again on Saturday. So if there was a big concern in my mind going into Week 3 against one of the best teams in the country, Ohio State, is that Indiana better find a running game before Saturday or things could be a real problem.
Yeah, the passing game has been so good, over 400 yards this past Saturday. But like you've talked about, the running game has not been there. And when you play a team like Ohio State, you're not going to probably throw for 400 yards in that game necessarily. And you can't rely on that. And this is a lot. The line's going to be bigger, faster, stronger. These guys, they've been tested, but they're about to get their sternest test of the season.
Well, no question, and if there has been a major improvement, at least in the early part of the season for Ohio State this year over last, it would be on the defensive side of the football. They shut out a really good Cincinnati team this past week, 42-0, and the defense was swarming. They have really, I don't know if the talent is upgraded as you would expect. I mean, I don't know if that's the reason why they're so much better. I just think that their system has gotten better, and what they're doing defensively has just improved dramatically. So we've always thought that Ohio State is easily the most talented team in the Big Ten. I think that's been the case for many years now, and this team is no different. The difference is they are playing so much better with so much more intensity on the defensive side of the football. You don't shut out a team like Cincinnati 42-0 without playing some tremendous defense, and they certainly did that on Saturday. And Indiana's going to have to find a way to dent that defense somehow with whatever their attack is going to bring forth. And part of that, I think, is going to have to be an effective running game.
Absolutely. We saw how the Big Ten can you never know. Everybody's thought Michigan is going to be the team to beat this year, and they've got to struggle this year. Our good friend Greg Kennard, who left the Indiana Media Relations Department, went to become the head media relations person for football for Army. He must have brought him some luck, but Michigan had a tough time with Army, 2 overtimes this past weekend.
Yep, no question, and without a doubt, I mean they've been talking about Michigan and the offense and how much better it's gotten, that type of thing. Well, Army proved that they could hang with them, and that's obviously a good thing from a Big Ten perspective. It makes you feel like there's some chinks in that armor, so to speak. But Ohio State hasn't showed any of those, and the Buckeyes' offense is running just as good offensively as they were a year ago under Dwayne Haskins at quarterback with Justin Fields, who's a transfer from Georgia, and he's been terrific in the first 2 ball games. He has completed 38 of his 50 passes, 76% of his passes for 458 yards and 6 touchdowns. Obviously, this kid has got some tools, and the receiving core is terrific. KJ Hill, along with Benjamin Victor, those two guys are terrific receivers. And look, let's face facts here. This Ohio State team has dominated just about everybody they played over the years, not the least of which has been Indiana. The difference has been here in the last 8 years or so for IU that they have competed with Ohio State. Even though they haven't been able to beat them, they've competed with them. And you want to see that to continue this week, but you'd like to see Indiana somehow find a way to finish a ball game against the Buckeyes. In every one of these 8 ball games over the last 8 years or 9 years, whatever it's been, Kevin Wilson's years and then Tom Allen's years, Indiana has been able to compete through 3 quarters of the football game. And then the fourth quarter, they just kind of falls off the table because they don't have either the depth or the strength to overcome what Ohio State brings to the table. I don't know if Indiana still has that yet or not, but we're going to find out Saturday because, like I said, they're going to face a team that is playing at the top of their game early in the season, and that's also a bit unusual for a team to play this well at both sides of the football this early.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask next. Man, they're playing so good already. And this is probably the toughest team Indiana's going to play. From what I've seen so far in this early season, this is the toughest game on their entire schedule. And open Big Ten play with it has got to be difficult. And on top of that, usually you have 3 non-conference games before you get into conference play. This year they've kind of jumbled about, and they're going to have to place Ohio State early. A little bit misfortune maybe, but they're going to have to be ready Saturday. And having a game before Ohio State, Don, would you have rather seen a game where Michael Penix got to play a little bit more, that they needed him to play just to get the snaps?
Well, I can't fault Tom Allen for what he did on Saturday. That's the thing he needed to do, and without question, you would like to have seen a little tougher competition than what Eastern Illinois was able to put out there in the field against Indiana. At the same time, you want this team to go in feeling very confident. And so from that perspective, I think Indiana will. They're going to have a chip in their shoulder. They know they're going to have to play their best football game of the year, and that may be the case 3 or 4 more times this year if they're going to win any of these ball games. But that said, this is a football team that is more talented, I think, than Indiana's had in several years, especially on the defensive side. The offensive side, again, much of a question mark because of the running attack at this juncture that hasn't materialized. So we're just going to have to wait to see how it all plays out. My concern at this juncture is the run game and being able to be a little more versatile with the play calling, because I think Kalen DeBoer has done a terrific job of orchestrating this offense thus far. But again, when you don't execute with the run blocking and the run game itself, I think it's going to cause you to be a one-dimensional team, and that one-dimensional team is not going to beat a team like Ohio State.
Yeah, there was a couple things that stood out to me as ironic on Saturday. 12 different receivers caught a pass, but none of them was Nick Westbrook. A little surprising on that.
Well, I agree. And again, I think it was the type of game that it was and what was there and what was available, that type of thing. Here's the other thing that was kind of ironic in this ball game, or not ironic, but unusual. 9 different players scored in this game for Indiana.
Wow, I didn't realize
9. 7 touchdowns and 2 kickers. So it's amazing in the sense of again, 74 Indiana players, to my count, is how many guys got off the bench and got to play in this football game. So you saw a lot of kids out there getting an opportunity, getting some success after the hard work they put in practice. Those guys that don't get to play very much or don't get to play at all, some of those guys got their first opportunity on a college football field, and a couple of them were seniors, and fifth-year seniors at that. So, you had to feel good for these kids that got an opportunity to play. So all I can tell you at this juncture is, I would have liked to seen Indiana play a tougher opponent in Game 2 and give Michael Penix more opportunity, but at the same time, I also appreciate how it happened and why it happened the way it did. And to take advantage of that for a lot of players in your football team, I think is a great positive and a motivational factor.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. One other ironic thing is Indiana's getting the takeaway streak ended in a game that because they were so dominant.
Right. Yeah. They had no interceptions and they had no forced fumbles in this ball game, or no takeaways in this contest. So, again, that is ironic. Indiana had the longest streak in the country at 19 games, I believe, going in.
Now, when you go into a game like this is going to be a first start for Michael Penix in a Big Ten game like this. But he has shown he's more than ready to lead this offense. And if they can get the running game going, I think that they can battle with Ohio State. But as we've talked about, that's going to be a critical issue for them. And I don't understand completely why, because this line seems to be pretty talented. And I think I don't know if it's just timing or what it is getting used to on this season, but they've got to get it ready and quickly.
Well, I agree with that. I'm not as adverse to, or not. I'm not sitting here. I don't want to just downplay the line, the offensive line, and be negative about them. I just don't know how talented they are. Number one, I know that they're not deep. That's one of the big things right now. This offensive line is going to have to play a lot of snaps. If you looked at what Indiana did in the Eastern Illinois ball game, once they didn't have the starters in there, they weren't very effective. I mean, Jack Tuttle came in, and he couldn't get anything done because the offensive line couldn't protect him, and obviously they were coming in on him like gangbusters, and, of course, the run game went nowhere when that group was in there. So the backups for this football team aren't there right now, and they've got a lot of work to do to improve that aspect of it, but the starters haven't provided a lot of blocking for the run game either. So, again, I'm not sure how talented this front five is. There's no doubt Coy Crunk's been around. This is his fourth year as a starter, and a couple of other guys have played quite a bit of football. Simon Stepanak, I think, has been solid, especially in the offensive line. Hunter Littlejohn at center, I think, is solid. But I think the other two spots are still a question mark. Caleb Jones is a guy that played a little bit last year, not a lot. He's at the right tackle position. And Harry Kreider at left guard, I think he's had his issues up to this point. So I don't want to downplay these guys, and I'm not quite sure why they haven't been able to run the ball more effectively. All I know is what the results have been in two ball games, and they haven't been good.
And on the positive note, defensively, and again, we know that it was Eastern Illinois, but Indiana only gave up 64 yards passing and 52 rushing. So hopefully that's been a sign of that young defensive line stepping up, because they're certainly going to get a test this week.
Well, there's no doubt, and let's face facts here. The defense, the missing 23 tackles in that first game against Ball State, I think was an anomaly. I think this defense is good. I think it's going to get better. It's still very young in a lot of spots out there, but it is deeper than we've had in a long time. And the one issue I think is still an issue is Indiana still needs to put more pressure on the quarterbacks. I think that defensive line, I think, has still got a ways to go in their improvement at this point. So there's still a big upside, however, for that group. I think the defensive line has a lot more faces in it now. I think they have more talent. It's young and inexperienced in most of those spots. So I think that defensive line will get better as the season progresses, and they're going to have to play their best football by far this weekend.
I agree, and I can't wait. Can't wait to hear your call on the Ohio State game this weekend, Don. I hope you have a great week, and get ready for the Buckeyes.
We're looking forward to it. Thanks a lot for letting me be with you, Jeff.
You bet. We're great to have the great Don Fisher, the voice of the Hoosiers, back with more Indiana Sports Beat right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is James Blackman Jr., former Indiana Hoosier. Make sure you're keeping up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club, the Eagle Point Studios, here on this Tuesday, September 10. Just realized we're a day before the 9/11 observance. Chronic Hoosiers on the show today. Can't wait to talk to him, as always. And before it slips my mind, Friday's always a great show. The Todd Father joins us. Tom Bruce stops by. Special guest on this Friday. You know this voice?
Has it knocked away in midcourt. Oh! Oladipo!
Well, you know that laugh. The great Gus Johnson from Fox will be here on Indiana Sports Beat on Friday. He's calling the game for Fox. The Indiana-Ohio State game, which will kick off at noon Saturday. National audience. You know, as soon as I heard that Gus Johnson was on the call, I'm like, whoop, whoop. Man, big things usually happen when Gus is on the call. He's the A-team, boy. They send him in. He's like the sniper, the killer, the sniper. They send him in to just to slay it. Looking forward to that. The only thing about covering the games that I hate is I miss out on these calls. Now, of course, I go back and rewatch it, but I've talked about this before in regards to, well, basketball and football, but basketball especially because it's so much more faster paced, is not getting to hear Don Fisher do the call. I mean, there's nothing. I can think back as I was young, listen to those games on the radio and Don Fisher on that call. I miss hearing those.
You need to get you some of those like portable radio earphones that all the old guys wear at the games and listen to the call.
You mean like the 1950s Cold War look with the one thing in their ear and the dangling off?
Yeah.
And the little transistor radio in their hand?
Well, no, they're just like all inclusive in the headset. Actually, you could probably just put it on your phone, just tune in on there and listen along.
It plays on TuneIn? Yeah, see, the thing is, I can do that. Or I can watch a different, But here's the problem. They're always delayed like 5, 6, 7 seconds. So I'm sitting there watching the action live and listening to call 7 seconds ago. Now, I've done it at home where I have synced up the television and listened to the radio broadcast. But you have to stop it and get it just right. But the only opportunity I get to do that is some of the road games. But oh well. Can't have everything in life, right? Couple more texts into the show. Joker. IU has a slight advantage. Coach Allen practiced against Coach Wilson's offense for 2 years. Yeah. But they don't have quite the horses they had a couple years ago. But let's see, man. This defense is statistically, they're looking pretty good. This is going to be a stern test. I mean, Ohio State, they're looking good. It's just, they're looking good. Thursday, don't forget, we'll have our Indiana Sports Beat reporter segment. Dustin Schutte. Taylor Lehman, I'm going to have him join us. He's back. He's with Rivals, Indiana Rivals now. But before he came back, he's from Indiana originally, went to IU. But he had a stint that he did with, I forget the name of it, 11 Warriors, I think. It's an Ohio State. I'm not sure if it's the rival site for Ohio State, but it's an Ohio State site. So his familiarity with Ohio State will come in handy. But the Buckeyes are they're the cream of the crop in the Big Ten this year. I'm selling Michigan. I'm buying Ohio State right now. So now the key is, can Indiana get its offense uncorked against a high quality opponent? We'll certainly find out. I don't see them stopping Indiana. They may slow them down. The key is going to be the run game. You know, we've been talking about that. Indiana's got to get this running game off track. And it's not that they're having it's horrible. They're not getting these breakaway plays. Now, they're getting breakaway plays via the pass. They had one with Ronnie Walker, 64-yard touchdown pass, but that was just a toss out into the flats that he turned into a 64-yard touchdown. I think because of the scheme, there's less reliance on the running game. Last year, they needed the running game because you had an atrocious offensive coordinator and a limited quarterback. Well, now they don't have that. They have the ability to go downfield to really open things up. And Kalen DeBoer's scheme is really involves everybody. Tom Allen's the only guy who didn't catch a pass last week. But they involve the running backs in the passing game a lot more. The tight ends a lot more. Peyton Hendershot, he had 5 catches. I think he had 5 catches in that game. Look down there. Yeah. He tied Donovan Hale, like I thought. So you've got a wide receiver and a tight end catching equal number of passes. And then 5, that's a lot of targets. Of course, there was a lot of throwing going on. How many times did they throw the ball? 41 times. Versus 34 runs. And that's probably I'd say that passing number is probably going to be a little higher this week. The running number will be a little down because you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys run the ball. Now, of course, that included Michael Penix, Jack Tuttle. Peyton Ramsey did not scamper, so you had six players run the ball, non-quarterbacks. That's good and healthy. But I think you're going to see more passing just because of the scheme, the ability to keep things moving, and they could do so much more with throwing the ball, whether it's short yardage, long yardage. I think it's going to be a heck of a game. I'm really looking forward to it. Speaking of, let's hear from Michael Penix. Jake, if I should have given you a little warning, but we'll get that pulled up. Talking to him yesterday, you can see and hear his leadership skills coming out more and more and more. Let me know when you got that ready. But his confidence level continues to rise, and you can tell that he's stepped into that role. He's also relying on the other older guys. He's not trying to be too much. He's not trying to be a demanding leader. He's being the quarterback of the team. And he's doing a pretty good job of it. He's certainly going to get a test this week against the Ohio State Buckeyes. He's going to see a great improvement in the defensive personnel. Indiana basketball, of course, on the road. Archie Miller, Tom Ostrom off to visit Dawson Garcia, I understand, yesterday. Trey Kaufman from Silver Creek will be coming in for a visit this weekend, I believe, along with Caleb Love. They're trying to get Garcia, and I think that he's going to be coming in. I'm not sure if that's this weekend. Aminu Muhammad is another name that's been popping up. We heard from Michael Penix yesterday. Let's hear from him, or we talked to Michael Penix yesterday. Let's hear what Michael had to say.
You've gotten a chance to look at your tape to begin with. Just what are your thoughts on your performance and how you guys did?
Overall, as a team, we did really good. We executed everything that we needed to, going from the game plan. Everybody worked extremely hard. It was a great game, great team win.
What did you feel that you personally did really well, and where do you think that you have to improve?
Just leading the offense, making sure everybody was doing the right assignments, making sure that we're controlling the pace and controlling the whole game. So that was real good.
You have a whole different challenge this week with Ohio State. Have you gotten a chance to see anything from them, and just your thoughts on the Buckeyes?
My thoughts is they're a great team, but we're going to come out and compete. We've been watching film already. We're just going to come out and compete, push, work extremely hard. It's just another game for us, and it's a big one. So we got to make sure we get that.
Knowing the conference play starts and the competition obviously stepping up greatly this week, what's the mental approach differently for you guys?
We know we have to get the business, make sure we execute all the little things, make sure we pushing each other, make sure that everybody's on the right page, knowing our assignments, make sure that we execute everything that Coach DeBoer put in for this week.
There's Michael Penix talking to us yesterday, and I'd like to know what's going through that man's head. He seems calm and confident as the Ohio State Buckeyes are coming to pay a visit. They had the Buckeyes opened the season a little sloppily, but they came back and they beat Cincinnati 42-0 last Saturday. They actually slid a little bit in the polls. They were top 5. Indiana was going to add to their top 5, to their list of playing schools in the top 5. Unfortunately, Ohio State dropped out one spot. I think it currently stands at 8. Indiana's tied with Clemson and Auburn behind Alabama, but they are also very high in playing top 10 teams. They may be second in that. I'm not sure. But I know it's a lot. That's because you play in the Big Ten East. And Tom Allen yesterday talked about He's coached in the Big Ten, of course, in the Big Ten East now, but he also coached in the SEC West. Without doubt, two of the most difficult divisions in all of football. And we'll hear from Tom Allen in a little while. I asked him a question about what a win over this or a team like this would do. But also talked to Donovan Hale yesterday, and he's a fifth-year senior wide receiver. He's been here. He's been through the wars. He's been through injuries. I asked him about playing in Ohio State. Here's what he had to say.
It's kind of what you signed up for. These are the games you dreamed of, and when you play in the Big Ten, it's like, these are the games everybody's watching. So these are the games that you want to play in.
There's Donovan Hale, senior wide receiver. He had a big day. He had his first 100-yard game last week. Can you believe that? It's amazing. I think he had 110 yards on the day on 5 catches. Yeah, 110 yards, the longest of 43. 12 receivers caught the ball last week. Now, it's not going to be that much this week. But the good thing is they got some guys ball into the hands of guys like Miles Marshall. He's a young up-and-comer, man. That's a name you're going to be hearing for the next couple of years. The Penix to Marshall connection is something that will grow on you fast. Ty Freifogel, he's I think just a sophomore. Another great wide receiver. They've got some guys on the sideline they're good in the I think they're set at that department for the next couple of years. The Buckeyes are a 14-point favorite over Indiana. The over-under is set at 61. I think that's a little low. I would take the over. I think Indiana scores 30 points in this game. Let's also hear from Simon Stepanak, one of the anchors of this offensive line, talking about playing in Ohio State.
Every year, our goal is to beat everyone in the league, everyone in the conference. I didn't even know what the spread is for this game. I mean, we go in every game. We're not going to buy into Vegas and be like, oh, these guys think we're going to win by this much or whatever. So, but yeah, just going into this game, it's the biggest game of the year because it's the next game. So.
Simon Stepanak, one of the anchors of the offensive line, that's going to get a stern test this week as well. As Ohio State is, they're 3 deep. That's the thing. They're 3 deep at every position. And to be honest with you, their backups, many or most in certain positions could start for Indiana. They probably have a 3 deep guy in certain positions that could start for Indiana. That's the difference in depth. It's hard to comprehend, but teams like Clemson, Ohio State, they are so deep, it's crazy. Look at all the quarterbacks that are transferring from these schools and then going and starting at other places. Now, Ohio State benefited from that, actually. Their quarterback is from Georgia, transferred up from Georgia. The Buckeyes have now started the season as double-digit favorite in all 3 games, by the way. But so far, they're only 1-1 against the spread. They didn't cover against Florida Atlantic. But they certainly did against Cincinnati. Now, an interesting note, Indiana was a 35-point favorite. They covered that spread. I have to check. I think that may have been a first. That's something that high. Ohio State has currently won 23 straight against Indiana. The all-time record, the Buckeyes lead 74-12-5. Of course, I talked about the last time Indiana beat Ohio State in 1988. They've come close. They've come close, but they haven't gotten there. Is this the year? We'll certainly find out, won't we? I certainly hope so. The crowd is going to be amazing. It's going to be a sold-out Memorial Stadium. You're going to have, if you want to go buy a beer, you can go buy a beer. That's going to get tested. Everything's going to get I've been talking about the lines getting tested. Hell, everything's going to get tested. The restrooms are going to get tested this week at Memorial Stadium. The concession stands are going to get tested because it's going to be sold out, baby. 53,000 strong, of whatever the exact number is, Memorial Stadium holds, right in there. It's going to be sold out. Chronic Hoosiers coming up on the show. We're going to hear from Tom Allen. We'll hear more from Michael Penix. Get to talk to all these guys. Tomorrow on the program, don't forget Matt Weaver joins me. And don't forget, we're giving away a pair of tickets to the Indiana-Ohio State game. If you follow me on Twitter, just send me a DM with one of today's guests. And if you don't, you know what to do. Follow me and send it in. It's that simple. But it's courtesy of Jeremy Temple Law Office of Bloomington. Reach out to Jeremy for any of your legal needs. He's at 101 West Kirkwood Avenue on the square in Bloomington. Can't make it any more convenient for you than that. But, man, 2 tickets, wow. This is going to be gold. It's gold, Jerry. It's gold. Yeah. You got a lot more coming up on the program here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back with Chronic Hoosier in the next hour right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Hey, this is Jordan Halls, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
This hour is brought to you by Sweetland Waste and Removal Service, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Come on along and welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thanks a lot for joining us here on this Tuesday, September 10. Coming to you, of course, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jake's at the wheel, keeping us on the track. Plenty to get to today on the program. Chronic Hoosier makes his usually Tuesday visit. Can't wait. Lots to hear about. Hear from Michael Penix. Lots of football talk. Donovan Hale, Tom Allen. Lots to get to there. Indiana basketball recruiting. They're back at it. Archie Miller's on the road trying to solidify this roster that, in my opinion, is in a little bit of, don't see that. They don't believe that, but they're kind of overloaded in the wing area and underloaded in the front court. They, as of right now, 2 years from now, Trace Jackson Davis is the only one scheduled to be on the floor for Indiana. I think they need to land a big in this class desperately. People may disagree with that, but if you don't, you bring them in the following class. That means they're going to be freshmen in 2021. You're going to have, or it's actually 2022 when they come in, right? But Indiana's front court will be gone with the exception of Trace Jackson Davis, and there's a possibility that he's gone if he goes to the NBA after 2 seasons. So they're pretty thin along that line. Archie's been trying to land a point guard for the last couple seasons without success. I know that they have a new name come up, Cam Hayes out of North Carolina, but all indications point to him going to North Carolina. They do have a couple visits coming in this weekend, one of which is Caleb Love, a point guard out of St. Louis. Indiana's not thought to be at the top of the list for him, though. But joining him will be apparently Trey Kaufman. He's a 2021 kid from Sellersburg, Silver Creek High School. Another 6'8" player. That's one that they could definitely use. Lots of talk with Dawson Garcia. I think that Archie and Tom Ostrom has been on the jet plane talking to Mr. Garcia, trying to get him down for a visit as soon as they can. Text in the show from Tim. 9/11 is his wedding anniversary. Well, that's certainly an easy way to remember that, Tim. If you think we could have about 7 receivers, including the existing receivers, the backs and the tight end, let's just throw the ball all over the field. This could be a high-scoring game with both teams scoring in the 40s. Last team with the ball wins. Indiana's 24th in total yards. Yeah, that happened. They tried that deal with Michigan 4 years ago when they lost in double overtime. I remember screaming. I was not here. I remember screaming at the TV to slow it down, to milk the clock. And they just wouldn't. They just would go score and turn the ball over. Well, they couldn't stop Michigan. Michigan couldn't stop Indiana, but Indiana couldn't stop Michigan. So I'm like, just slow the clock down. And they just kept scoring in like 60 seconds. Don't know that's going to be that much of a shootout. Indiana was deep into its offensive rhythm by then. But it could be, man. These two teams are offensively talented, let's say. There's concern that Ohio State's going to be able to run all over Indiana with an inexperienced front line. They're going to get a test. We don't know. We know they're inexperienced, but we don't know how good they are. Maybe they're good enough. It's hard to tell when they're playing Eastern Illinois. They held them to, 52 yards rushing, something like that? 1.7 yards per carry. Yeah, 52 total yards on 31 attempts. Now, if they did that against Ohio State, hello. Of course, that'd be one of the top defenses, if not the top defense in the country, to do something like that. But we'll certainly find out. I think it's going to be an entertaining game, regardless. The Buckeyes are a 14-point favorite, but they're usually a 21-point favorite. Indiana's played them tough. And you know that? They have played them tough. 2 years ago, they were leading them with less than 4 minutes to go in the third quarter, 21-20. But they would end up losing that game 49-21. Last year, they ended up losing that game 41-26. Played them tough, and then things go away at the end. The depth is better for this team. That part of that is part of why that happens. Indiana just wears down. Now, but partly also last year, I will say, from an offensive standpoint, they had nothing to offer. They had what they were able to do that was successful, but it was limited. You don't have those limitations anymore, and that's the difference. And I think that could be the difference in this ballgame. Instead of it being 49-21 or 26, I think it could be, like Tim just said in his text, I think this could be a game in the 40s. I really do. That's why if I was betting, I would take that over. I think they're going to obliterate the 61 points. You think Indiana's just going to score 21 points? I don't see that. I think this offense is too explosive. I think they definitely get into the 30s. Now, can they hold Ohio State to the 30s? There's the rub. And who knows? Indiana could get up into the 40s. Let's see. We're going to see how good they really are. Because this might be the toughest team they play all season. Of course, I haven't seen Penn State yet. I haven't seen Michigan State yet. I haven't seen Michigan yet. But I've seen what they've done. Now, of course, they're all going to get better. But Ohio State, I believe at this moment, is the cream of the crop. I asked Tom Allen, Jake, the clip that I didn't run it on Twitter, but there's a point where I'd asked him about what a victory over at Ohio State would do for this program. When you're playing a team that you haven't beaten since 1988, and you're trying to build a program, those are electrifying. He called it game-changing. I think it's around the 10-minute mark, 10, 11-minute mark, 10, 17 possibly. But they are game-changing. I remember as a student, Indiana beating Ohio State, Indiana beating Michigan, beating both of them in the same season. I remember watching Anthony Thompson roam the field as a Heisman Trophy candidate. He should have won the Heisman, by the way. He got robbed on that. A missed field goal against Purdue. Cost the man the Heisman Trophy. But anyway, they were not just competing with these teams. They were beating these teams. Hell, Indiana was one game away from going to the Rose Bowl. Lost to Michigan State. Bill Mallory he built that team up, and it was fun. 6 bowl games in 8 years. Tom Allen's trying to get there. Unfortunately, Ohio State's a lot better right now than they were back then. Ohio State was going through a downtime. But Indiana was bad. Like, he didn't have the divisions like we do now. But fortunately, Indiana was getting to play Ohio State and Michigan and getting to beat them. You go back to, 1987? Earl Bruce called it the darkest day in Ohio State football history, a 31-10 loss. The funny thing is, the next season, John Cooper's in there, and it's a 41-7 loss to the Hoosiers. There's a 5-year run where Indiana won 2, lost 2 by 4, and tied Ohio State. That's over a 5-year period. That's not a fluke. That's half of a decade, folks, that they were beating and competing with the best in the conference. It was fun times. You found that yet, Jake? Yeah. We'll get to that in a second. Michael Penix yesterday was also meeting with the media. He's this team leader now. He's the guy that they have to look to in the huddle. And he's got to be able to look them back and know that and for them to know that he's going to lead them. And I feel that they have that confidence without doubt. But one of my favorite comments yesterday was in talking with Donovan Hale.
These are the games.
Talking about playing in Ohio State and what it meant.
It's kind of what you signed up for. These are the games you dreamed of. And, when you play in the Big Ten, it's like, these are the games everybody's watching. So these are the games that you want to play in.
That's right. And let me tell you, with a national audience on Fox with Gus Johnson on the call, if they're in this game, everybody will be watching. Indiana was, I don't know if it was last season, the year before last. Man, they were one of the top draws for the noon games. They had top rated. They had a game with Michigan that may end up being the top rated noon game of the season. It was an overtime game. Also heard from yesterday, Simon Stepanak, one of the anchors of this offensive line.
Every year, our goal is to beat everyone in the league. Everyone in the conference. I didn't even know what the spread is for this game. I mean, we go in every game. We're not going to buy into Vegas and be like, oh, these guys think we're going to win by this much or whatever. So, but yeah, just going into this game it's the biggest game of the year because it's the next game. So.
There you go. That's the mentality. It's the next game. Now, it's not. It's more than just the next game. We all know that. They know that. They're trying not to give Ohio State any kind of a mental advantage. Michael Penix, he's got the same
pushing every single
mantra.
Like, the offense is real good. We still just execute. We're rising every single week. I see it in practice and then obviously in the games. We've been pushing each other as an offense. We got a lot of leaders on the offensive side of the ball. Pushing the younger guys, pushing every single person on the team. Make sure that we all come out and execute to our best of our abilities.
Michael Penix, giving that quarterback answer, man, sounding like a quarterback, sounding like a leader. We got a lot coming up here on the program. Chronic Hoosiers going to join us next, and following them, we'll hear from Tom Allen as well. Stay tuned. Lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back with more after this.
Now it's all out and you know, 'cause I want it
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is former Hoosier basketball player Nick Zeisloff. Keep up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Jim Coyle with you as always, of course, coming to you, of course, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Now joined by one of our absolute favorites. You know him, you love him, you can't live without him. It's Chronic Hoosier. Chronic, how are you, friend?
Glad to be here, man. Glad to be another week with the victory flag flying over Memorial Stadium. Glad to have the largest margin of victory in Memorial Stadium history in our back pocket coming out of week 2. Perfect way to start as we get ready for the onset of the conference season with the Buckeyes coming in town Saturday. It was one of those opportunities where Indiana went out and did everything that you would have hoped they could have done with an opponent such as Eastern Illinois. You didn't expect it to be a contest, but to go out and just dominate, in virtually every facet of the game from start to finish was about as confidence inspiring as you could hope for. But we'll see here with the Buckeyes coming. That's going to be obviously a stiff test, but I love the way the coaching staff is addressing it. What a great opportunity for this team to come out and show who they are and what they're made out of.
Absolutely. I mean, we expected, Indiana was a 35-point favorite, so we expected a game to be similar to this. But the dominance, not only the dominance, but the fact is Michael Penix got pulled before the half was over, and they piled up 555 yards of offense. He wasn't even out there for much of it.
Yeah, and, you got to love that. We'd said that, I think, last week. You were really hoping that they'd be able to get a little bit further down in the depth chart across the board, but particularly at the skill position, particularly in the quarterback spot. give some other guys some reps. And I think that was a perfect opportunity, both to get Peyton Ramsey out there as well as to get Tuttle out there and get him some snaps. Obviously, he's got the red shirt to preserve if they need so. But just kind of give everybody a look at what he had to offer. You talk about the spread, though. I had to go back and do some research. It's been, well broadcast that was the largest margin of victory. I went back and was digging through the records, and it goes back at least until 96. But prior to this, Indiana had never, at least up until 96, had never covered a 25-point spread, not to mention a 36.5-point spread. I mean, this was, again, it's one of those games you expect it to be, kind of a walk in the park for Indiana. But all that said, I published the lines whenever they come out, and just the amount of pessimism from so many people that just didn't think there was any shot in hell that Indiana was going to be able to cover that type of a spread. Not only did they cover it, they shut them out, hung 52 on them. It's one thing to blow out an inferior opponent, but to do so in that fashion, and I think to do so and not give up a single point on the scoreboard. Yes, it's what you would expect them to do as far as win in convincing fashion. I don't know that an Indiana team is anywhere close to being able to say, oh, yeah, 37 points, doesn't matter who they, a team like this, that shouldn't be a problem. It still speaks volumes to, I guess, how far the program's come, because don't get me wrong, there have been worse teams in Eastern Illinois that have come through Memorial that got out with a whole lot less of a butt whooping than what they did this weekend. So good on the Hoosiers for getting things together, cleaned up a lot of the mistakes we saw in week one. I still remain a little bit wanting from the running game. I've had a lot of conversations in the subsequent days since the game, and is it really, how much of it is just scheme related? Where obviously they're really pass heavy right now. How much of it is this staff just not wanting to open up the playbook hardly at all in advance of the Buckeyes, keeping as much as they can under wraps before they maybe unleash perhaps more of a balanced offensive attack. At the end of the day, though, if the passing game's working, by all means, keep it going. They put points on the board at a pretty high clip. But that's the one thing I would like to see them establish a little bit more here. A great opportunity to do it against Ohio State, just to keep them on their toes, keep them from sagging back into purely pass coverage, and just show everybody what this offensive line and this running back core is capable of.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they want to see a little bit more out of the run game, but not as much as I think people think. I think they've expected to have some bigger plays, I think, develop from some of these runs that just hasn't gone as far. I mean, Stevie Scott, he only ran the ball 12 times, but he averaged 5 yards a carry. That's not bad against Ohio State. You hope that's a lot more than that against Eastern Illinois, obviously. But they got out of him what they wanted to. But I think part of it, too, is this scheme does lessen, I don't want to say lessen the running attack, but they incorporate the running back so much into the passing game. You saw that little flare pass by Peyton Ramsey that ends up going for 64 yards and a touchdown. So I think that they're kind of creating yards in different ways, but we definitely would like to you think they'd like to see a little bit better output there. But it's kind of a give and take, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? Like I said, if it's not broke, don't fix it. When the passing game's clicking as well as it has been so far, by all means, keep it going, keep moving the chains, keep putting points on the board. I think that's all you could hope for. You do get the sense, though, that as the competition stiffens a little bit, they're going to probably need to find a little bit more balance in the attack. But as you mentioned, integrating the running backs into the passing game, I just think it's providing a really, really unique dynamic to this offense right now. It makes them pretty tough to play against, and it's like I said. So long as the results continue to yield points and first downs, kind of hard to complain after a performance like we've seen here.
Yeah, you saw Eastern Illinois, and again, we know it's Eastern Illinois, but man, they're a Division I football team. They rushed the ball 31 times and got 52 yards out of that. That's 1.7 yards per carry. That's not bad. I mean, I know this is not Ohio State, but I think you got to take some positives from that.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was probably the biggest disappointment coming out of Week 1 was the defense's inability to get the ball carriers down, to get some stops, and they certainly cleaned up a lot of that rather effectively in Week 2, which is everything you could have hoped to see. Now, again, how that translates to a high-level opponent like Ohio State, who's absolutely rolling right now. They themselves coming off of a shutout against Cincinnati here this last Saturday. And then you throw in the added personal factor of Kevin Wilson still calling plays for the Bucs, and it'll be a true test for this defense to try to contain the Ohio State offense and at least give the offense a chance to get back on the field and see what Michael Penix can do, probably in a four-quarter type scenario, unlike the short afternoon he had last Saturday.
Absolutely, and obviously Michael Penix got pulled early in this contest, so he didn't get to work on his game as much as we'd like to have seen. Maybe it's as early as it is in the season, but of course health is number one. We see it all too many times. I think Ohio State's quarterback got dinged up a little bit in their game.
He took some shots. I'll tell you who I'm most concerned about is Logan Justice. After all the work his leg got with those PATs last week, hopefully they've had him on ice here this week. And he's ready to continue a stellar campaign so far. But that's the one fatigue issue. But all kidding aside, I think that is another notable element right now as Indiana comes into this game mostly healthy, which is, we talked about it last week. That's been one of those things where not only do you want to see the wins, as the schedule sets up here with some of these non-conference opponents, but more than anything else, just keeping everybody available and healthy so that you're truly going to be able to give Ohio State your best shot and, see where the chips fall here as they got one more non-conference opponent afterwards in UConn, which shouldn't be too tough. But, more than anything, having that maximum availability as you head into the heart of the Big Ten season, I think it's going to be crucial for Indiana as far as their ability to get bowl eligible and possibly make some noise here and just see exactly what this team can do at the end of the year, both as far as bowl eligibility, but as far as seeing, too, if they can get us to a place where a lot of fans want to be. We've talked about it for some time, but I would, if short of the Rose Bowl, I would certainly love to see these guys have a chance to play in Nashville this year.
That's my pick, man. I've been Chronic. I've been saying that, spouting it. I hope that they're listening to us. Why would you not put Indiana in the Music City Bowl in Nashville? Huge draw. It's natural. It's right there. Instead of sending them across the country to Arizona or Northern California, let them go where the fans will follow. I think it would be huge. I'd like to see them play Kentucky if you don't know the truth about it.
No, absolutely. It's one of the few destinations, bowl destinations at least, that the Big Ten has participation in that is both a tremendous overnight destination, but also opens up the door for a lot of fans that just want to come down for the day and drive to it. And I like yourself, I've been calling for it, I've been begging for it for some time. But not just eligible, they're going to have to win some games. That is one of the more solidly middle tier bowls. And it's going to take at least 7+ wins, I think, in order for Indiana to have a shot at it even. Yep. It's probably putting the cart before the horse after week 2 at this point, but optimism still abounds in Bloomington right now, especially after a win like we just saw, and we'll see how quickly it's tempered by Ohio State. But again, it's the opportunity. This is a tremendous opportunity for this football team to come out on national TV and just really show everyone, both nationally as well as regionally here in our conference, what this team's capable of, what their potential is, and just how well they've developed under Tom Allen here.
Yeah, and none of us can say, oh, yeah, we know that they're going to do this or they're going to do that. But I got to be honest with you. I think that the offense has more than enough firepower to deal with Ohio State. My only concern, as we talked about, is that defensive line. They're young and inexperienced, and this team is really humming. But if they can overcome – but we don't know how good they really are because of the competition that they've played. So they may be a lot better than we think. These numbers that we're looking at, holding them to 52 yards rushing, that could be real. What if that's the case? Then we could be in for a very exciting game on Sunday or Saturday.
No, absolutely. And I think one thing you can extrapolate, even from lesser opponents like Eastern Illinois, the coaching staff has this team's attention. They're executing at a pretty high level right now, and that's something that transcends opponent. I mean, that's focus. It's not easy to get a defense to pitch a shutout against any Division I team. It's just not. So. For all the potential shortcomings as far as inexperience and youth and some of the issues they've dealt with, at the very least, I think it's safe to say that Tom Allen and his staff has both the positions as well as the teams full and absolute attention right now as far as focusing on what they need to do to get better, focusing on what they need to do to get prepared both for opponents like Ohio State, but as well as the greater Big Ten and what that entails. Because as we've talked about ad nauseum, there is no tougher conference or division, I should say, in college football than the Big Ten East. And for a team that has been so consistently on the cusp of having one of those breakthrough games and being able to achieve an upset, at the very least, you cannot beat yourself in these types of games. You cannot, cause unforced turnovers, penalties, things that just absolutely shoot you in the foot and really, create the ability to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory here for them. And we've seen that time and time again. And just to be able to clean up some of those mental mistakes, just to be able to see a team come out and just really do everything that the coaching staff's asking of them, it gives me a lot of confidence heading into it. I don't know that I necessarily would be putting a wager on the upset, but I certainly expect it to be competitive. And I certainly expect, an Indiana team at the very least to come out and just absolutely give Ohio State everything and then some. Because, this is one of those games, love it or hate it. Let's be honest, though, there's not a lot of opponents, at least in the Big Ten East, that look at the Indiana matchup and necessarily prepare for it like it's, Ohio State versus Michigan, if you will, Michigan versus Michigan State. Indiana always has that surprise factor. And as we were talking about just before we started rolling, you got the Gus factor in effect this weekend, so you got to love that.
Absolutely, and Gus Johnson will be on the program with us Friday, so looking forward to that, looking forward to his call of the game, because every time he's involved in something, Chronic, something weird can happen, man. He's like the greatest upset caller of games that I know of right now.
It's the law of Gus. You put Indiana on national television, put Gus Johnson behind the microphone, who knows what can happen. One thing I will say with absolute certainty as well is if anything crazy is going to happen, it's going to take a full house of some Indiana fans. This is always, historically the photo day at Memorial Stadium is one of the few opportunities you can see a completely packed house with every single person dressed in red. I get it. I understand the realities of having a market. All of that aside, though, it would be really nice if some Indiana fans decided to come down and buy up some of those single game day tickets, decided not to put their season ticket up on the resale market, knowing that it's going to get top dollar right now. Come out, support these guys, stay the entire game. You got to be heartened by the student turnout last weekend. Obviously, it was probably one of the most beautiful days you could ever draw up in Bloomington for a football game. Temps in the low 70s, just absolutely idyllic. But you got to love it. You absolutely have to love to see the student body in full support of these guys. I've said this time and time again over the years. You'd be hard-pressed to find a successful football program anywhere in the country that doesn't have a great student turnout. I think it's absolutely integral in creating the environment that gives teams home field advantages, that gives even the alumni and the fans incentive to come out. People love the energy of of big sporting events such as this. And props to the students for turning out in numbers and for staying out in numbers for the most part. Obviously, it was didn't win the most compelling fourth quarter to stay and watch. But I thought the student section did a tremendous job, and I look forward to seeing them even stronger, even louder here this weekend.
Yeah, Tom Allen gave him a shout-out, deservingly so. Yeah, I mean, that was great to see all that was a lot of sections they filled up. A little bit of irony this week, Chronic. Samson James was so close to playing against Indiana in this game, but he'll be playing against Ohio State, flipping his commitment the day after last year's game and in Columbus. So a little bit of irony there, and he's definitely been seeing the field and somebody we're going to be seeing a lot of.
I'm still looking after all the accolades. I heard firsthand from a couple of sources in the preseason that he was really one that was impressing in practice. And, if ever there's a time for him to come out and have a breakout game against the team he was formerly committed to, you probably couldn't draw up a better script for this type of matchup. So looking forward to seeing what he has Saturday as well on his career. I think one of those guys that we've just got a glimpse of. I mean, just slightly scratch the surface of what he's capable of. By all accounts, he has the potential to be a really, really special back. And, along those lines, too, it's about time for Stevie Scott to uncork one and really have himself a day. And you got to wonder, if Ohio State's just thinking pass on defense, if it's not going to give Stevie and the entire running back core some alleys where maybe they can go break off some bigger yards or some runs for some bigger yardage this week. That so far, that's one of the things the offense has kind of been missing a little bit. The passing game certainly has brought the element of explosiveness. But looking forward, you got to figure that this running back core is due to have a couple of real big gainers here.
Absolutely. Speaking of tickets earlier, we were giving away a pair of tickets this Friday, man. So two lucky IU fans can win those. All they have to do is, if they're following me on Twitter, just send me a DM telling us who today's guest is. Today's guest, Chronic Hoosier. If you put him on there, boom, you're entered in the contest. That's it. If you don't follow me, just follow me and just do what I just said. That's it. But these are pretty good tickets, Chronic. Freebies, baby. Freebies!
Gotta love it. Ain't nothing better than a free day at the ballpark.
Absolutely. Chronic Hoosier, I cannot thank you enough, man. I hope you have a great week. See you out tailgating this weekend, hopefully, for the Buckeyes, and hopefully Indiana gets a big win.
Beat the Bucks, man. We'll catch you next week.
Absolutely. Chronic Hoosier joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. Back with more from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Looking at the stars now, there ain't nobody here. My buddy sits, big Tom. To get caught would surely be the death of us all. Smoking in the boys' room. We're smoking in the boys' room.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Duckett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is James Blackman Jr., former Indiana Hoosier. Make sure you're keeping up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here on this Tuesday, September 10,
Can't believe we're already that deep into September, man. Third week of college football season underway. Heading towards us. Great NFL game last night. Man, did you see the Saints and the Texans? Wow. I thought the Texans had it, or the Saints had it wrapped up. They leave a window and the Texans score. Then they miss the extra point. This was crazy. They scored to tie the game, but they've got to hit the extra point. They missed the extra point. But wait, there's a roughing the kicker flag. They get to kick it again. They make it and tie the game. No worries. You got Drew Brees on the other side. He's got 30 seconds. That's all he needed to get his team into scoring position. 58-yard field goal. That's a pretty big field goal. But the Saints win an exciting NFL game. Man, it was exciting. Hope that this Saturday's contest between Indiana and Ohio State is just as exciting. With the win by the Hoosiers would be incredible. How incredible would it be? Well, Tom Allen calls it program changing. I asked him in the press conference yesterday, what would a win over a team like Ohio State mean for this program? Here's what Coach Allen had to say.
On Saturday, yes.
Coach, obviously playing in the Big Ten East, you get the opportunity to play games that are, whether it's perception by the fans, but are just considered bigger than others. What would a win over a team like Ohio State, a top 5, top 6 team, do for this program?
Well, those are program-changing opportunities and program-changing wins when they occur, and they've don't happen as often as you want them to, but that's what makes them special, and so there's no question that they're who this whole conference has been chasing, and they've performed at that level. And so, yeah, it's playing in this league, creates those opportunities, and coaching the SEC West and now the Big Ten East, I think the two best divisions in all of college football. So that's obviously up for debate, but I've been in both, seen both, and know how hard they are playing against teams of this caliber so frequently and having so many in your own division. So, but it also creates tremendous opportunity. And that's where, and that's how I look at it. Yeah, it's tough. There's no doubt. I mean, you don't, your margin for error against these guys, all teams like this, and is right there. Every mistake you make gets magnified, and so they expose you in a lot of ways. That's why you have to play so hard and so well together, and have a complete offense, defense, special teams game. And so, but that's what you have. And so, to me, I've been some places where you don't have an opportunity to play many of those places and those teams, and it is a great, chance for us to be able to take that next step as a program, as we always like to say, and those are definitely program-changing, program-defining wins that affect recruiting and affect the trajectory of your program.
When you see what Ohio State's been able to do to some of their past opponents, like 40-something point shutout against Cincinnati, how do you learn from the other team's mistakes to help you build your own game plan against these guys?
Yeah, I think that the Cincinnati game was one. I think some people might have thought that was going to be a different, closer outcome, and so especially they had Cincinnati had played well against UCLA, the week before, and just you never know how it's going to play out, but it was pretty lopsided, in that game, and so it just shows you how good Ohio State truly is. Because I think Cincinnati's a good football team, So, but at the same time, you go through and evaluate. They have, not everybody does the exact same things you do, but you look for similarities in scheme and fronts and how you play things, and you communicate with people that on those staffs, and like everybody does across the country, and get their input and their thoughts about, what they, kind of thought before and then what was different after those kind of conversations. So yeah, those are helpful, but at the same time, you got to trust the film, and it's early in the year. You only have 2 games to go off of, so it's not a really large, test case to look at. But at the same time, it's a lot of good, valuable information, and so it's a lot better than having, 0 film, to start the year. And so it gives us a chance to see, with their personnel for this year and what they like to do, what they feel they're good at, and what we feel like we need to be able to attack on one side of the football and try to exploit on the other. So that's the challenge we have.
You talk about their physicality up front. With your offensive line, you have 3 seniors there. How far do you think Harry and Caleb have come along in the first 2 games? And then also, how much are you leaning on the experience of those 3 seniors facing that physicality?
Well, I think, Harry and Kale, we just got to get, just keep getting better. They're just, there's a level of intensity and toughness and just, it's every little, step you take and working with the guys around you. And, Caleb's obviously a big individual, but he's starting for the first time. And Harry's played even more than he has, but just being able to, go against these defensive ends are going to play against on the perimeter is different than the first couple weeks, a lot different. And then the two guys on the inside they're going to be facing that Harry will be matched up with is more physical, more explosive, bigger guys, and so they've got it's a heightened sense of, technical, precision you have to have in everything that you do, whether it's the communication piece and whether it's your footwork and your hand placement and the line calls and checks and adjustments, all the stuff that they do. So, he'll be, one thing about Caleb was able to play last year against Iowa, so that was a good chance for him to be in the fray of this type of competition that he's going to be seeing. Obviously, those three seniors are huge. Those guys, they've been there, they've done that, they've, multi-year starters and been in these games, played in these games, love these games. So, those two of those three guys are Ohio guys, and so as far as our three seniors. And so that's just, to me, just that whole mindset that you bring as a senior leader to our program and how you prepare and what the game means and just all that goes into it. And so I think you lean on those guys this week for sure, especially early in the season when we're still got a lot of young guys. This is going to be several guys first time playing against Ohio State, and some guys just maybe get a little bit last year but didn't play a lot, but were either there or got some snaps. So, but I think you definitely lean on those older guys to step up and show the new guys how it's done.
Why do you think Raekwon has been so productive so far this year, and what do you like most about what he brings to a team?
I think the first question, the reason why is confidence and just knowing the system. I think when he's not second guessing himself. When you can tell when a guy, when I watch practice and even walkthroughs, he's making checks and adjustments and he's barking it out loud. When you're loud and confident as you speak, you in your heart, what you're doing. And you don't speak that way if you're not sure. And he's that's something that I think he's grown in a lot. It's a major change for him, and I thought he kind of struggled with that, early on, a year ago, and that's where it's been one of his strengths now. And so that allows you to be almost a step. You're kind of anticipating things, and you're a step quicker, and you finish things better, and so it makes you more physical. And it just makes you a better football player, So, and then I just think that's what I like, the decisiveness of how he's been playing. You pull that trigger when you make your reads, and you make those checks and adjustments. You run defense, you grab defensive linemen, you move them around, and that's what I want to see. Because that affects everybody. It gives everybody else confidence around you. Hey, this guy knows what he's doing. And that elevates their confidence, and it gets people right, and gets them lined up. And with all the no huddle tempo that you see about most people, at least at times in games, you got to have that leadership at that position. So that's what I really appreciate about him and respect about him, and that's caused him to play. He's making lots of plays, and he's his confidence continues to grow. So I expect that to just flow into big game against Ohio State.
So
that was Coach Tom Allen yesterday meeting with the media, answering several questions. One of which was how big it would be to get that win. I also enjoyed talking to Simon Stepanak. There was a question that he got. It was in regards to the point spread and the fact that it's the lowest. It's at 14. It's one of the lowest ones in a few years. And basically, says we don't pay attention to that stuff. Let's hear what Simon had to say.
Every year, our goal is to beat everyone in the league. Everyone in the conference. I didn't even know what the spread is for this game. We go in every game. We're not going to buy into Vegas and be like, oh, these guys think we're going to win by this much or whatever. So, but yeah, just going into this game it's the biggest game of the year because it's the next game. So.
It's the next game. That's pretty much the mantra of every one of those guys. Talking to Michael Penix, they're looking at it the same way. They put their pants on the same way. They put their football pants on the same way. They put their pads on the same way. And you have to believe that. And who says it's not true? So I know history says it may not be true, but history is not written. This year's history has not been written yet. So I'm looking forward to this game. I really am. I'm looking forward to seeing what this offense can do. It's early in the season. When you play a team like Ohio State, you'd sure wish that you were at your best because they look like they're rolling right now. I got to tell you, they look pretty sharp in that second week. Indiana obviously looked a lot better. Of course, we can't tell the opposition was not what you would hope for it to be. But I did talk to Michael Penix extensively yesterday. Let's hear what Michael had to say.
The level is always high every week. It don't matter who we play. We always say the next. So this week, Ohio State, we say it's the biggest game of the season because it's the next one. That's how we always come along. Every single day we work hard, not because of who it is, but because it's just our next game. And, a next opportunity to get better and show the world that Indiana is on the rise.
From a scheme,
Indiana's on the rise. We'll certainly see. Hopefully they can rise up and take on the Buckeyes on Saturday at noon, a telecast on Fox. Gus Johnson on the call. Indiana basketball, Archie Miller and the assistant coaches, they're out and about. They're at it. I know that Mike Roberts, with his North Carolina connections, has been talking to Cam Hayes, a number 28 point guard, but all indications are that he is North Carolina bound. But the number one target has got to be Dawson Garcia, I believe. Big 6'11" kid. He's a big. They have to get a big in this class. If they don't, it's going to put them behind. I don't care what anybody says. Facts are facts, man. Their front line will be gone in 2 years. It could be completely gone, depending on what happens with Trace Jackson Davis and if he goes pro after 2 seasons, which is very possible. But the rest of them are gone, period. So, yeah, they need bigs. And anybody that says otherwise is just being disingenuous. Facts are facts. Just like they would like to have a backup point guard for Rob Fennessy. It would be really nice to have that. But it's not that, to me, that's not as crucial as landing bigs because you've got an Al Durham. You've got a guys that can handle the ball if they have to. I think that an Al Durham can handle the ball this upcoming season as well as a backup point guard that's going to be a freshman. He's only a junior, so if it got to that point, I don't think that's as critical as the situation with the bigs. It's just my personal opinion on that. But we'll see what they can get done. They're certainly out. The dead period's over, man. They're out hitting the pavement. I think that they were visiting with Dawson Garcia last night, all indications, trying to get him on campus. You do have some visits coming in this weekend. Caleb Love, the point guard from St. Louis. Not sure that Indiana's at the top of his list from what we've seen and read. Doesn't always mean a lot. Trey Kaufman, he's a 2021 kid, 6'8", from Silver Creek High School. State champion. He's going to be coming this weekend as well. Good weekend. When you have these kind of football games, these are events. Big events. This is when you like to really show things off. I'm surprised they don't have more coming in, to be honest with you. I think it's an opportunity lost. You can show off the campus at one of its highest times. The excitement level is going to be big. Just disappointed in the fact that they don't have more going on this weekend. But to each their own, man. They're running that recruiting how they think is best, and we'll see how it works out for them. Certainly see how it works out for them. Hey, coming up on the program the rest of the week, don't forget, Friday, the Toddfather as always. Tom Brew will join us. But special guest, Gus Johnson from Fox. Can't wait. Hear the Gus man. The Carnegie Hall of college basketball, baby. Had to pull up some of his great quotes, his great lines, great sticks. Those are some good ones. Don't forget, we're giving away tickets to the Ohio State-Indiana football game this Saturday. Got a pair of tickets, courtesy of Jeremy Temple Law Office. Jeremy Temple and Law Office in Bloomington, of course, 101 West Kirkwood Avenue on the square. take care of all your legal needs. But he's made it fortunate for us to give away a pair of tickets. All you have to do is, if you're following me on Twitter, just hit me up with a DM with who today's guest was. It's Chronic Hoosier. There's a hint. Making it pretty damn easy. If you don't follow me, well, follow me and just do what I just said to do. Making it pretty easy for you. Text into the show, Tim. Maybe Allen and DeBoer are saving a few plays to use against Ohio State. Yeah, I was wondering if they were holding back. I mean, I'm sure they're holding back. Yeah, they haven't shown it everything. Hell, how can they? Michael Penix barely played in the last game. He didn't even finish the half. So I think that they know it's going to be a wide open offense, which it is. With the ball, every guy has to be accounted for on Indiana's offense. That's the thing. That's the thing about this scheme. Everybody's got to be accounted for. You've got to cover the receivers. You've got to cover the tight ends. You've got to cover the running backs out of the backfield. You better know where everybody is. And one mistake, and hopefully Michael Penix can make you pay for that. I think that's part of the scheme of this offense, is that floods you and waits for you to make a mistake. You make it, and then bam. Hopefully they can take care of business. Looking forward to it, though, man. It's going to be a sold-out crowd. Memorial Stadium is going to be rocking. The weather's going to be absolutely incredible. I think a high of like 81. Woo! Now you just need a win, right? Just win, baby. Just win. Al Davis, the Raiders, they got him a win last night. Sure, Al was happy in heaven. Just win, baby. I didn't see the end of that game, but what did you say it was? 24-16, something like that? Cool. Hey, man, we got a lot coming up on the rest of the week. Matt Weaver's going to join us tomorrow. Then Thursday, of course, Indiana Sports Beat reporter segment. Dustin Schutte. Going to have on Taylor Lehman. He is formerly with 11 Warriors from Ohio State, covering Ohio State football, so that's pretty timely. And haven't named the third person just yet. If you have a favorite, send that in on text as well. But hit us up for the tickets. I think we're good now, Jake. All right, man. Thanks a lot. It's been a great show. We appreciate everybody. Chronic Hoosier, of course. Love having him on. We got to hear from Tom Allen, Michael Penix, Simon Stepanak, Donovan Hale. We heard from tons of people. But we'll be back with plenty of that more tomorrow on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Until then, for Jake, I'm Jim Coyle from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. I will see you on the radio.